I am Caterina Batiste and I work at VITO, the Flemish Research Institute, and I would like to present you a little bit on the experiences and insights from the monitoring journey so far in our region in West Flanders in Belgium. And I would also like to acknowledge the support of all the other partners that are involved within NBRACER, such as the province of West Flanders, INAGRO, which is the Agriculture Research Institute, and VLM, the Flemish Land Development Agency. I would like to start with a brief introduction on the context of the region of West Flanders. So you can see here in the map on the left that it's the province or the region that is located at the coast of the northern part of Belgium. So it has a combination of all kinds of landscapes from coastal to urban and rural. And when it comes to climate risks, actually, flooding is one of the main risks that affects the region. For instance, due to the lack of natural water courses, there are quite some issues when it comes to drought, but also when it comes to pluvial flooding, since a lot of the area is paved and most of the artificial canals that are made to drain the water straight to the sea are also putting pressure at the coast in terms of sea level rise. Last but not least, since the region also has a lot of agriculture and farmland, soil erosion is one of the topics that we are trying to address. So to look at these climate risks, we try to focus on nature-based solutions, of course, and we have been doing so for a while already. And through the process throughout NBRACER has been already quite long, but fruitful, I would say. So coming back to the steps from the monitoring journey, we actually started by establishing a monitoring team, and within the project of NBRACER, that was very clearly from the start established, and we quickly moved to understanding the baseline. So what we did was actually a series of workshops, and we started with an internal workshop with the project partners. And by talking with experts, we try to identify which potential nature-based solutions could be implemented in the regions. And we did this, for instance, like you see here, we did this with a word cloud where we could identify several of the favorite NbS that could be implemented. The second stage was prioritizing, so trying to identify what are the regional priorities and what are the climate risks we want to address with NbS. And the last step was a SWOT analysis, so trying to identify the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats to try to select the NbS to be implemented. This already took a long route, and at the same time we were trying to focus on step 3, so establishing a vision for NbS, and we did so in a series of workshops throughout NBRACER, where we have included several kinds of stakeholders, and this has been a very interesting participative process, where the first workshop actually already in 2024 was mainly with experts and main stakeholders from the region, where we try to assess the risks and vulnerabilities within the region. And later on, we try to work further on this input, and actually later that year, we tried to present what were possible solutions and try to discuss them together with experts, but also in citizen engagement workshops, where we really talked with citizens and with the farmers. So in a sort of stakeholder validation workshop for the solutions we were working on. And actually, this led us to the point earlier this year where we have defined different strategies. So we call it a strategies workshop, looking at possible futures and possible scenarios for implementation of nature-based solutions, and also in a spatial explicit way, like you can see here, working with some maps and where we could implement these NBS. So it has been a very interesting process so far. Looking at step 4, which was the selection of nature-based solutions, we did this based on the input that we gathered from all the workshops, and we actually defined a set of 4 themes for nature-based solutions. So we decided to work on the 3 kinds of landscapes and working on constructed wetlands for wastewater treatment, on sustainable farming practices for healthier soils, on renaturalization of streams, and on groundwater level management. And we try to look at these solutions not only from a technical readiness level perspective, but also trying to address enabling conditions such as regulatory, financing, and social acceptance aspects. So when selecting the NbS, we actually downsliced into the implementation of the monitoring plan. So we selected these 2 first sets of solutions to work further and implement a monitoring plan. So we worked further on the definition of the key performance indicators and on the pre and post implementation and monitoring. So I will just provide a little bit more information on these 2 cases. For the constructed wetlands for decentralized wastewater treatment, we actually started by selecting the monitoring sites, so really doing work on the field and trying to identify which sites could be interesting and representative for our monitoring campaign. We ended up with 5 different sites and including different kinds of wetlands as well. We defined the set of KPIs to be monitored. So we are looking at water quantity, such as flow rate and evapotranspiration, but also at water quality with parameters like pH, conductivity, nutrients, and so on. And we started the sampling afterwards. Just to say that here the sampling is a little bit different because we don't really look at pre and post implementation. We look more at before and after in space, so before and after the wetland, but of course we can also look at catchment level, what were the historical data telling us in terms of impact on water quality before the wetland was there. For this case, there are 2 kinds of monitoring. You can also see here already some of the data that we have collected, just some basic representations so far. And we also want to look at additional monitoring for the rest of NBRACER. So always, of course, already hinting here on some of the challenges restricted to budget and to what is visible in the field. The second case that I wanted to present here is related to the sustainable farming practices, so focusing on healthier soils, but also on improved water management in the soil. And we actually test 3 different kinds of practices, like you can see here, carbon farming, weirs, and non-tillage agriculture. And actually the process was a bit the same. We selected the sites also together with Inagro and with the farmers that they have been working on already. So the plots were selected and the set of KPIs was defined. So we look again at water quantity aspects like the ground and surface water level. But we look also at what is the impact on the soil, physical and chemical properties, and of course, very important for the farmers, what is the impact on crop yield and crop emergence. Afterwards, then we proceeded with the sampling. Actually, we did in this case a pre-implementation baseline monitoring for during the year of 2025, and after implementation, we are already doing the post-implementation monitoring, of course. Here, very important, we also focus on additional activities such as gathering the farmer's perception and trying to make sure that there is capacity building and knowledge dissemination for this specific kind of stakeholders. Just to finish, I would like to present some key challenges and lessons learned. I think the main three challenges, the first one, I think it's a common for all the regions, that it's quite hard to find a shared vision and co-create it with everyone. Of course, if you involve different kinds of stakeholders, there's always different socioeconomic interests, and this implies that there's a different vision. And I think also specifically for the region, but I can imagine this is also the case in other regions in Europe, that there's a very strong agree to disagree culture. So it's very hard to have everyone come to a common ground and to have a common vision on climate adaptation. And last but not least important, the aspects focusing on non-physical monitoring. So it's quite hard to define indicators and to define methodologies to monitor these more socioeconomic and governance models, but also looking at biodiversity aspects. Lastly, for the lessons learned, I think the most important lesson here is that is very important to establish feedback loops. So actually these steps in the monitoring journey, they are not really sequential. They just have they are a constant iteration, and they interact between each other, and they feed into each other in both directions and at different levels throughout time. So it's very important to make sure that the journey is not linear, but that it has several touch points. And secondly, to share experiences. It's very important to just share experiences and to make it very tangible. So for instance, when interacting with stakeholders, for example, working with an actual action list has proven to be quite helpful to identify what is needed in the region and really make clear what's in it for the stakeholders. Ownership and commitment, especially at this case at the province level, to really make sure that nature-based solutions and climate adaptation measures can become the new normal. And again, last but not least important, funding through projects and European projects such as NBRACER, that are a wonderful way to test, explore, and share knowledge from research, but also from the government and practitioners in the field. So yeah, that was it from my side. Thank you, and looking forward to a nice discussion.